You guys have been asking for some new post-ban updated Dragon Ball Super Fusion World decks, and today I'm bringing you just that. Hey guys, Zen here with an updated deck list for every single red leader in Dragon Ball Super Fusion World card game. This video will be timestamped, so feel free to save it and come back to it later. And as for the other color-locked leaders, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on those videos when they upload. With that, let's jump right into it with our first updated deck list to be the starter deck Son Goku. And now for this deck, it's going to be, again, like I said, post-ban list update, which means a lot of the red decks are feeling the bans, let's just say. They lost their essentially one-drop double striker. You're limited to only one Kefla, and yeah, no more Roshis, but that's just fine because this deck is doing what it always does, and that's win games. A couple interesting picks here are the 2 Tournament of Power extra cards as well as 2 glimpses, but furthermore we have 2 Cauliflas to help us synergize with 2 of our Kales. Now this isn't too crazy because of the combo that you get out of this. It's only 5k. If this was something like a 10k, then we might honestly see 4 copies of this in the deck. Speaking of 4 copies, we do get something like this. Kakunsa, who has a pretty good activate main ability once per turn. Switch this card to active mode, then it gets a minus 5,000 power for the turn. However, when you think about the leader when it's awakened and how it could boost a card by 5,000, or our extra card we were talking about, this card becomes really good and is essentially your double striker. Other cards we have for our self-awakeners are Hit. We got 4 copies of that, 4 copies of Caulifla, 4 copies of Krillin, again for the self-awakeners. We also have 4 copies of the damage-reducing Gohan, really good, also helps self-awaken. We have 1 secret rare, because you never know when you could use that spicy tech. We also have this Gohan that could become a 45k battle power card, which is pretty nuts when you think about it. And for our powerful cards, we have 2 Beerus that helps us clear the board, as well as our 2 double strikers. And yeah, it's a 5-cost double striker, like all double strikers should be, unless they're green, then they should be 6. And the last card we really haven't talked about is this 1-drop Frieza, who becomes a 20k for the cost of 1 energy, but can also become a 25 with the leader ability, or again, Tournament of Power. Pretty standard, pretty strong updated starter deck to say the least. Now let's go check out the next one, which is Universe 7 Goku. Now this is all about swarming your board and being super aggro. Let's talk about some of these the lower counted cards real quick. It's Frost. We only have 2 copies of Frost to pretty much counter against yellow, really, right now. We have 2 copies of this Son Gohan, which again helps us destroy a bunch of tiny bodies on the board. We have our 1 copy of Kefla, and then if you notice, there are absolutely 0 extra cards, because this is all about attacking and attacking like a lot of damage as much as you can. We have, I think, 6 dead cards in the entire deck. So you have your 2 double strikers and then 3 of these, which helps us self-awaken. Our self-awakeners being Gohan, Hit, this guy, as well as this card right here, the 3-drop Gohan. And then other cards that we have that are pretty important for this deck strategy is this Android 17 that helps strengthen our leader. But not only that, our leader then increases every single card here except for Hit, except for the Frost, and except for Kefla. Everything else is getting boosted. And when I say getting boosted, let's look at our 3-drop Tien that can then help us bring out these 1 bodies as long as they're in your hand. We also have this 1-drop Frieza that becomes a 25k battle power card for just 1 energy. It's insane. Like, this is going to be an insanely strong red deck for the second half of the set, that's for sure. But like I said, I touched on this a bit. The Android 17 is pretty important to this deck, and a card that helps us draw it out is this Android 18. Hopefully you don't whiff, but even if you do, it's a 10k combo, so it can't be too bad. This helps you draw out your self-awakener, or this helps you draw out your Android 17, which then can further boost your leader. But this is the updated Universe 7 Goku list. Definitely one that I am excited to use. Now let's go to the one everyone is wondering, Topku. I think I touched on this a little bit, but let's go see what we're working with here. All right, Topku. You know what the ability does. You discard a card, you use an energy, you could play any sort of Tournament of Power card with 20k or less. This was insane with Kefla, right? So right off the bat, you only have one Kefla in your deck. But now let's look at the other cards you could technically use this with. You could use this with this guy, another Gohan. You could use it with your androids. You could use it with this. You could use it with this guy here. This one as well. That's pretty much it. Nothing else, but there is some value there. So with that, we're actually running a ton more Universe 6 cards. So we have this guy right here. Universe 6, Universe 6, Universe 6, and Universe 6. This Caulifla helps us swarm the board once we're at 5 energy to bring out this Kale and do some serious damage. But furthermore, you'll notice that we have 2 of these strong warriors of Universe 6. It's essentially the same thing as like Assemble Universe 7. It helps you search for this card. Top 5. You whiff, don't worry. You could also use Basil to search for this card. You whiff, don't worry. Actually, you might want to start worrying at that point. You also have Piccolo to draw. Nothing too crazy. We have our Self-Awakeners to help us awaken, but I think Topku is going to be played more defensively in the second half of the season. That's for sure. We also have 2 Glimpses and 2 Clash of the Strongest because, like I said before, the thing about this deck is you're going to want to get all your Tournament of Power units on the board if you can, as much as you can, and then when you're ready to attack, use 1, maybe even 2 of these cards to get an additional 10k up to even 20k, right? So that's where the strategy really comes in. And then we have the 2 Glimpses, because after you use your Kefla and say they knock it out, or you can use it to knock out essentially itself, you could use it as combo power, right? Then you could use a Glimpse, bring it back, and still use its ability again. So just us having 2 Glimpses in the deck means we technically have 3 copies of Kefla, as long as something like this card is also on the field, or our Kale is on the field, and we're using this with another battle card or even our leader, if that makes sense to you. So that's why this deck is structured this way, is we're really trying to get the most out of this ability, which is kind of the worst ability in all of Red right now, especially needing you to get down to 3 life. Like they really knew what they were doing. They hurt Topku tremendously. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. We still have one more leader, and that's a leader I actually just did a video on. Go check that out for gameplay. But here you go. Here's the updated Beerus list. We have, you'll notice a lot of the 5Ks, except for the Self-Awakeners, like these 2 cards. All the 5Ks are going to be 3 copies at most, and then anything less. I really want to prioritize combo value in this deck. And then we have cards like this. You're probably wondering, well, that's 0 combo. Why is that there? Well, that's because this is insane with Beerus. It doesn't have to be awakened. This only gets the permanent effect of like being protected. Android 17 gets protected from every other card if your leader is awakened, right? However, if you play this on turn 3 and you're still like at 8 life or 6, it doesn't matter, you're not fully awakened, your Beerus is now a 25k leader that's crit. Like they're dealing critical damage, and that's where this deck shines. Like you have a ton of crit potential with our Caulifla. I went to this guy. We have Caulifla here. We have, who else is crit in here? We have this guy. We also used to have the 4-drop Gohan, but I think I modified that. So yeah, we don't have the 4-drop Gohan anymore. We have this guy, which brings us to the second half of this deck, which is all about damage reduction. We have this guy for damage reduction. We have 3-drop Gohan for damage reduction. Right here are Rumshi, that's how you pronounce the name. Another damage reduction. This is actually really good. Check this out. You use your ability when you're awakened to minus 10k on something like double androids. Rumishi comes out. Rumshi, I'm never gonna get this name right, and then he just blows up androids, and he's a 30k body on the board. It's pretty nuts. We have our 3 double strikers, really good. 4 policemen, numbers are hard for me, which also provides more damage reduction. And then over here, the 2 copies of the 3-drop Son Gohan that provides another 10k across the board. Really good overall deck. I think this one and the Universe 7 deck have got to be the best all-round Red leaders and the deck lists in today's video, and possibly the second half of the season. Well, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and be sure to subscribe and like the video and save it. Come back to it later when you want to try one of these decks, and be sure to be on the lookout for the other 3 videos coming out real soon.